Our sermon this morning is going to have an interview kind of format. I thought this would be helpful. I'm delighted to welcome Reverend Sylvanus Chapman, who was here last Sunday. Some of you had a chance to meet Syl. And it's great that he's here for a while and spending some time with us. He's a pastor in Sierra Leone in West Africa. And Syl has a special place in Linda's and my heart because we were close with him when we were working in Sierra Leone. He was a young adult at that time and part of the Congregation King Memorial Church where we were associate pastors, and also then a student at the Sierra Leone, it was called Theological Hall back then, Theological College as it's called now. And he became very special to us during our time in Sierra Leone, so it's been great to see him again. After we left, he then went to African University and did in Zimbabwe and did a Bachelor of Divinity degree, and then returned to Sierra Leone and later did a Master's in Education at the prestigious Fourbe College in Sierra Leone. He has a lot of experience as a pastor. He's been the district superintendent of the main district around the capital city and director of evangelism for the conference. He was a delegate to the General Conference last year in Tampa, Florida. So he has had a distinguished career of leadership and of planting churches and redeveloping churches. So he's married with 2 children, one in his mid-20s working in IT kind of stuff, and the other one who's still in high school. A daughter. Correct? You got everything right?
Yes.
Good. So, Syl, tell us a little about your background, and were you born into a Christian home? Was Christianity running in your veins, or was it something you came to?
Thank you very much. Good morning, church.
Good morning.
Yeah. To answer the question directly, I was born in a Christian home. Well, I became a Christian through baptism. I was Christian, and after that, I was reared or breeded by my mom, who was a church leader, who was a Sunday school teacher. She actually taught me church life. Because I started, first of all, as a janitor in the church, as a small boy, sweeping the church, fixing the altar, ringing the bell. And after that, I joined the choir at age 10. It was in an island in Sierra Leone called Bont Island. When I passed my exam for the secondary high school, I came to the city of Freetown and stayed with my dad. There again, I met my dad was a chorister. Dad would never leave me behind. I was always supposed to be ahead of him with his books at King Memorial, where he met me. So I was groomed, and well, there was no vacuum so far in my Christian life. And as if I knew I would end up to be a pastor, because I actually loved the work of God. How it all happened? Well, because of my activity in the church, I started showing leadership since I was a youth. I became the president of the Youth Fellowship in the Western area. Then Alan and Linda were there as missionaries. I was appointed to attend the annual conference of the Liberian annual conference. I was on the bishop's delegation. In fact, it was after that conference that the bishop invited me into ministry, because he saw the talent in me. He saw the gift that he wanted to tap. But how it happened, really, what actually brought me into ministry, I always tell Alan and Linda that I was inspired by them. I used to visit their home and do some light jobs, working on their books in the library. But I was always fond of reading theology books. And I mean, the books really spoke to me. One day I told them when they came home, I said, I think theology is an interesting field. They said, oh, well, Chapman, see, think about it. I started working on it from that day. So when the bishop invited me into ministry, I wasted no time. I answered his call. Then I went to theological hall where we were lecturers. I studied for 3 years, and in 1987, I was ordained. After ordination, I served churches both in the provinces and in Freetown. And I have served over about 12 congregations since. So I think that's all about how I came into ministry.
Thank you. I'm glad that, thanks Otto for putting the map up here, because you can see where Sierra Leone is. It's a very small country, tucked on the West African coast, surrounded by Guinea to the north and Liberia to the south. And some of you may remember the horrible story of war and Charles Taylor and all of that in Liberia. It's often called a civil war in Sierra Leone that happened for 11 years, but actually it was more like sort of gang violence run amok. It was just terrible, terrible violence, and the country torn apart with horrible things happening. What was it like being a pastor during that time, and how was it for you and your family? How did all that work? Tell us about that.
Actually, the war that broke in our country in 1990 was a challenging war, because it brought every morals and our sanity to a halt. There was great mayhem, many people died, some were amputated, so the stress was everywhere. To be a pastor at that time in Sierra Leone was like you are an angel from above. Because that time, even the rebels who were fighting, or those who were causing the event, will need the guidance of God. You will see them come to you, Pastor, pray for me, or pray for us, so that our cause will be successful. And then, of course, on the government side, we'll have our people seeking the face of God at that time. So when you being a pastor during that war, especially that one in Sierra Leone, you are an important figure. I always use the word that when there is crisis, then people seek Christ. My time as pastor there in Sierra Leone, I used to help my people, assure them, give them assurance and hope that all is not lost, though some will lose the rest of their families by death, some will be amputated, some will be tortured in a way that you prefer you die, or he was there to die. So the only place people will go to, or the only people will listen to, not even the police or the officials in government, you listen to the pastor. So at that time, really, I found myself very, very active, and I was useful to my people around. In fact, to make it more convenient for me, I had to move my family to the neighboring Guinea, because it would have been tough for me to be taking care of family at home and going out helping people spiritually. So my family was moved to Guinea.
And you remained in Freetown?
I remained in Freetown throughout the war. We are going in and out, with fighters as well as those who are going on rescue. You will go into the camp, the refugee camps, and you will also go to relief centers to seek support to take to the people in trouble. And one thing that I experienced even the fighters had regard for the man of God, because they know you are harmless. They will need your prayers. They will need your support. I found myself talking to a rebel at one time. The rebel actually, I want to believe, received Christ that moment. I never saw him after speaking to him. But the way I spoke to him about the love of God, I first started saying, people are fighting the just cause. Yeah. So because, because that is what they want to hear. Our cause is just because there is great injustice in this nation. We are freedom fighters. So yeah, you're right. So when Jesus came, he came to set us free. See, as he said, the Spirit of God was upon him to set the captives free and all the rest of it. Yeah, I said, so but the only thing I want you to do at this time, remember that God loves all of us. God created you, he created that man. Even if you are doing anything, do it with love. Let love be your watchword.
So that must have been pretty scary, frightening, relating to a man who was killing and amputating and doing terrible things to people, and yet you engaged him. How did you feel when you were doing that?
I think I had the Spirit of God upon me. I actually was not afraid. The moment you start becoming afraid or you show any sign of fear, they grow suspicious of you. You show love to them. You walk with them, you come at times, you see them, you meet them sitting in a sorrowful state or in doubt, you come and say, oh guys, let's sit and talk. I mean, there was one time I saw my Bible in the New Testament. Pastor, so that was, they were doing check. They had a checkpoint. So I was going through it. So they saw the Bible with me. That was the time they actually identified me as a pastor. So from that time, I was popular amongst them.
You even started a congregation during the war, yes? Tell us about that.
Well, yeah, my activity there actually ended up in me succeeding to have a congregation. I planted this church in 1993. As I said earlier, people really needed God at the time. So my invitation to them and the way they saw my love, the love I showed to them, and I took Christ to wherever they were. When the time came, I invited them, a day came, I invited them to a meeting, a prayer meeting. And I was moved to tell them, I don't want this fellowship to break. As of today, I want us to continue this fellowship until it becomes a church. So they said, oh, Reverend Chapman, well, the ball is in your court, it's your challenge. I said, it's our challenge. And we continued meeting every evening until we converted it to a divine service in the morning. It was difficult to get a place for worship. We only could rent a bottle store. A bottle store that was not operating anymore, but it was used for a bottle store.
Bottle store?
Beer. So it was so interesting.
Liquor store.
We renovated the place and we consecrated that place. So we convert this bar or liquor store into a temple. And we people actually cooperated with me that time. Yes, that was the time. I think that was the time. And God actually kept me during that time to get this congregation started. It's now a mighty church as big as St. Mark's, because structural work is almost complete of the church.
Wow. So, we're in this setting, we're so used to the fact that the church is getting smaller and churches are closing around here. But where you are, you've started 2 congregations and redeveloped another congregation. Well, you've redeveloped congregations as well as starting them. Tell us about that work and what does that feel like? How does it work? What do you do?
Yeah, I have one challenge in mind. One thing I always challenge myself about. I don't believe sitting in one place and allowing the work or sitting idle. That's one thing I hate. So when I started my church, and I saw the church was doing fine, and I saw the need for another area which needed a church where there was nothing like United Methodist activity in a university setting. I again visited that campus, and I started my usual fellowship. That one also developed into a church. That is where I serve presently as pastor. The church is called the Magai Memorial United Methodist Church. The university senate was so pleased with me that they offered us a 6-acre land for the building of school, health center, church, and the pastor's quarter. We have built a secondary school where the church is meeting presently, and we just completed building a quarter for the pastor where I stay. I've worked with them for 2 years now.
But you tell me that your house still doesn't have electric light.
Yes, well, the house is incomplete for now. We have windows and doors, tiling, and restroom, but no ceiling yet, nothing like electricity, no water. But I mean, it's a challenge. Gradually, my church. But one thing I'm happy about, we built that building all by ourselves. Even the conference didn't give us a cent.
Wow.
I challenged the congregation by tithing and gifts, the donations. It's a 4-bedroom house, very mighty structure.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. So tell us about redeveloping.
In my development area, many churches from time to time become either because of poor leadership, you will see them going down instead of growing. So there is one incident when I returned from Zimbabwe in 2005. I met the cathedral of our conference, King Memorial, in Shambu. Everything was going haywire. Members were leaving because of one disagreement they had with the bishop over a pastor they needed, and the bishop could not give them that pastor. So members left for other churches, and I came that year from studies. The bishop assigned me as assistant pastor in that church. I saw the membership was so thin, offerings, and at the end of months for salaries, you will have to pay by installment. I, the pastor, we, the clergy, will be the last to receive salary. That will be around the 15th or after halfway in the month. God actually gave me inspiration one day. I asked the senior pastor, I said, Pastor, please, I have a message for the congregation. And the pastor allowed me to address the congregation. As we are seated like this, I asked their permission to please allow some movement. All those born in the months of January, February, March, April, May, and June, the first 6 months, please come sit over here. All those born from July to December, take my left. So I got them that way. Then I said, I have a vision for this church. The vision is, I want this congregation to be a 2-family congregation. Those born in January, from January to June, I will name J to J. January to June, J to J family. Those born from July to August to December, I will call the Jason family. J for July, A for August, S for September, O for October, and N for November. The D December, the D is silent, so there's the Jason family. And then it was in the month of May that happened. Then I challenged the J to J that next month, last Sunday in June, we are going to celebrate. All of us will come together and celebrate our birthday on the last Sunday in June in this church. And we went to work straight away. We formed committees. Those who are responsible for menu for lunch after the service. We got school marching band to lead us into the service that day. We did it a little different. We assembled at the Victoria Park that morning, and then we marched onto the church with songs of praises and choruses. Oh, it was so colorful. We had colorful dresses. The same.
Yeah, and people may not understand. In the African tradition, often when you're celebrating, everybody gets the same fabric, and everybody dresses. Women have incredible dresses, and the men have shirts.
We call it Ashobi.
Ashobi.
Yeah. So the service was so interesting that even onlookers, people around passers-by, they said, what is going on? This is strange, the first time. With such spirit, people coming to dancing, you know. Then the service was so inspiring, full of Holy Spirit. And we actually raised money that day. We invited people from all around from the city. Service was jam-packed. The Jason people saw that and they met with Reverend Chapman. We are going to do more than what J2J did. And the one went around the city. Those who had left said, wow, we heard about the service. We will go next Sunday. I belong to Jason. I'm going to join that family. So the Jason and J2J, King Memorial is second to none in Freetown in terms of development, membership, the number as well as the finances. And one thing that is good, well, although I don't like too much appraisals, but there is ever a service of thanksgiving in that church when Reverend Chapman's name will not be called. Praising and thanking him for all what I left the bulletins in the office.
Okay.
Bulletins of thanksgiving and tribute given to me as being the pioneer of those two families. I will maybe read those booklets.
Thank you. This is amazing to me that you were able to do that in the middle of the war. This is in the middle of the wartime. The church grew faster during the war. Can you say some more about why you think that happened? And maybe tell us too, is the church continuing to grow since the war ended?
Yeah, actually, the one area I think that helped us succeed in letting the church grow during the war, we were attending to the needs of the people. The spiritual need was paramount, but the physical need, we would actually go all out to get relief for them. I will see myself really going, fighting the line to get supplies for my members. I mean, so that on Saturday we come, give you a supply. There are times, on Sunday mornings, we'll give people handouts, clothing, foodstuffs, medicine. So you find out that people actually saw Christ, they experienced Christ during that time. And the only area where they had confidence was in the church. So really that's what helped.
Yeah. So has the church continued to grow?
The church is growing. The church is really growing. Like my little congregation there at Milton Magai. One advantage you have, we are staying in a very nice beach area by the sea, which most people are moving to. It's a new settlement. So in fact, people who belong to bigger churches who have moved to that area have shown interest in my church. And the United Methodist really is doing fine, United Methodist Church. If we want to grade them or class them in Sierra Leone, after the Roman Catholic, the next church is United Methodist in terms of membership, activities, and all the rest.
And the United Methodist Church, people may not understand, is it used to be anyway, the largest owner of schools in the country. So many of the schools, children are going to United Methodist schools. Often the church sanctuary is used during the week as a school. Yeah.
Yes, our education system is very effective. As I said earlier, we have built a school on the land the university gave us. The building was donated by the Bishop Emeritus, then Bishop of Sotsuana Conference, Bishop J. Middleton. But the school is named after him. The school is Bishop J. Middleton High School. It's really doing fine.
So, tell us the downside. What are the problems, the struggles, the issues that the church in Sierra Leone is facing at the moment?
Well, actually, the struggles, we have spiritual ones, we have emotional, we have physical problems. After the war, the aftermath of the war, we have experienced that many morals and good character among, especially young people, is a bit lacking. So the church really has a lot to do in training. That's what we have vocationals and skill training facilities here and there organized by the church to get this to continue rehabilitating the young people. Our problem, main problem really is that we are not so strong financially. You know, it's a poor country, and with the results of the war, many things were destroyed. Our economy went to zero. So with the little we have, we are trying. It's not easy though. And as we were being the director of evangelism, I actually have to go the extra mile all the time, soliciting funds to get this program to get these programs going. It's not easy. Without money, it's a bit tough. So that's really, but the spiritual side we are trying, because you have crime here and there. Young people are so edgy these days. Before they have an argument you see them take the weapon, knives, because they have been used to it during the war.
We were talking yesterday about the fact, I was saying to Linda and I, when we lived in Freetown, petty theft was a major issue. People were stealing things all the time. But our bodily safety, we always felt very safe. Even at night, walking around in the streets of the capital city, we felt very safe. And that changed a lot during the war, with the violence that was going on. And so Sierra Leone is still trying to recover from that.
We are trying to recover. We are really trying.